days been pretty tough? Just tough to come to grips?
Yeah, Sunday was a very, very tough day for me. There were other things that were going on outside of baseball that were just, kind of some family issues. So that coupled with what happened on the field was just tough to swallow, and it was a very abrupt change in my life.
How are you handling just facing a third major elbow surgery? You've obviously been through it now, 17, 21, now 3 years later again. And do you intend to keep pitching, I guess, after the surgery?
Yeah, I do intend to keep pitching. I think I have an opportunity and a responsibility to do this, just not only for myself, but for the other kids out there dealing with this. And the cool thing about baseball is, contracts are guaranteed. So it's not like there's kids out there are in high school or in college that their careers are over and they don't have the best medical attention in the world. And so I think I have an opportunity to be the person that makes it back from 3. I know I have the perseverance, I know I have the work ethic, and then with the team of medical experts that are around, like, why not me, And I know you guys have heard me say this before, but you also saw me come back from that, and I think I can do it again. And it's gonna take the whole village, it really is, and it already has been, and I appreciate all the support, one from my family and from the Reds community, and it's just been incredible the amount of support I've received, the text messages and the messages on Instagram. I'm reading every single one of them, and I'm trying to respond to every single one of them because I really do appreciate it, and I want to show that appreciation to them. But this is going to be a war to get this done, and it's going to be tough, but I'm going to go for it.
How much different or similar to the other two is this? Have you been getting, have the doctors kind of told you?
Yeah, so you guys know I'm like somewhat well knowledgeable at this by this point. So this was the flexor fully tore off the bone this time, and the last time I think there was a small flexor tear that was needing to be stitched. And Dr. Krimchek stitched it down, but this time the flexor fully pulled off of the bone, and so from my understanding, he's a little bit more optimistic about that because he's able to kind of reattach the whole thing versus just trying to fix a small part of it. So based on what he was telling me after my MRI, it seemed like he was very optimistic. He mentioned another player for the Orioles, I believe, that had a flexor tear completely off the bone, and he made it back in 6 months. He didn't have a UCL tear as well, so I'll have the internal brace put in this time instead of my own tendons, because obviously my tendons don't work very well. So I'm going to need an internal brace. So hopefully that'll be a little bit stronger this time, and the redocking of the flexor will be a lot stronger versus just a stitch.
How does this compare to Tommy John surgery? Is it related?
Yeah. So from my understanding, it's nearly the same. So Tommy John surgery uses the palmaris tendon here in the wrist area. They drill a couple of holes in your elbow and use that tendon and tie the bone back together for reinforcement. And this time I think they're referencing it as like a hybrid or an internal brace. So it's actually just like a medical device that they are like implanting into you, and kind of doing the same thing, making the bones stay together, but using more of a medical device instead of your own. Because from my understanding, again, the tendinous fibers, we have to like kind of wait and let them settle and become more ligament type fibers, which takes usually about 6 to 10 weeks, I believe, for those fibers to get like really strong. And this medical device, when it gets installed, it's almost instantly like kind of secured in there. I think there's still a waiting period, but I think it does tighten the timetable a little bit.
You already work with COVID, right? I think when you're all 20 years from now, when you're done pitching or whatever that is, any thought of focusing on Tommy John or elbow comeback rehab? As you learn more about this, is this something that whenever you're done pitching, you're really interested in working with?
Yeah, absolutely. Mainly because I've been through it now, will be a third time. I'll have some sort of, market edge, you know, a competitive edge with that. From my outlook on the game of baseball right now, there's really gonna be no stopping of this pandemic that's going on and tearing of UCLs and elbow injuries. So I fully believe it's a lot of it is around, you know, us and chasing velocity. I think the human body is only capable of so much. You know, we're playing almost every single day. We're available every day. We're throwing every day. And then when we're out there, it's maximum effort. It's best pitch. We're facing the best hitters in the world. It has to be in the perfect location. There's a lot of stress. So there's just like all of that mixed in. And so from my understanding, you know, there will continue to be a lot of elbow injuries plaguing the game. And you know, when that does happen, I want to be a resource for kids and a resource for other athletes going through it, so that, you know, they can come back stronger. Because obviously after my first one, I was only up to maybe 95, 96, and I was up to 100. So I know it's possible. That is what gave me the opportunity to pitch in the big leagues. And so to be able to help another kid go through a valley and come out stronger than he was before is just, I mean, that's probably one of the best feelings in the world. My business partner is also currently the rehab pitching coach for the New York Mets. So I think us being together is going to be a really good tag team to help kids in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you know, to rehab themselves and get better.
What's his name?
Jeremy Kibble. He actually used to be a minor leaguer with the Cincinnati Reds.
Is there any way of, like, through the MRI telling, like, did it tear at a different spot in the flexor, or was it where you had it stitched, it just came completely apart? Is there any really way of telling until they opened you up?
Yeah, from my understanding, it was in the same exact spot that that compromised tissue was at from the first one. So the first Tommy John, it was just a UCL tear. The second one was an avulsion fracture, is what they call it. So the ligament didn't actually tear, the bone broke off at the anchor point. And then this one, from my understanding, going to that area, the flexor actually sits on top of the bone. So when they're doing surgery, they have to like cut through the flexor to get to the bone. And kind of after, you know, 2 surgeries and a lot of trauma, there was some scar tissue buildup and some weakness built in that flexor tendon that probably caused the compromise in that area.
You've already had to adjust the way you approach pitching. Do you anticipate, or have you even gone down that road of thinking, what am I going to have to adjust this time around?
I haven't gone down that road to think about that yet, but just quickly in my mind with you asking that question, I had a lot more fun letting it eat and just throwing hard, and I think that is what I'm going to be trying to do when I come back. And you know what, if it doesn't come back, then I'll move on, right? And I'll swallow that pill when that time comes, but I'm going to go for it. And I'm going to try to throw hard, and I want to be the pitcher I was in 21, because that was those moments out on the mound, the team that we were with, like even like how I was just a week ago in Philly, like that's the pitcher I want to be, like, you know, throwing hard, throwing great pitches, not trying to finesse too much. I was really trying to finesse to see if I could make it last. It obviously didn't last, so I'd like to go for it.
So you're going back to the way, in your mind, sitting here today, you're just going to say, you know, screw it, I'm just going to go pitch as hard as I can for as long as it'll last?
Absolutely.
So hashtag road to 102.
We're up to 103.
I think we might be up to 103 now.
On a more serious note, you're talking about being an example, your training facility and all that. Do you worry at all that is what is pushing a lot of these injuries? That constant training, that competition, that what you're doing to the body year round, is that part of, not going to say completely the reason for the endemic, but do you see that as part of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the game rewards velocity right now, and that starts at the top, and that's in the big leagues, right? So if you're a scouting department, you want the hardest throwers. You want the healthiest and hardest throwing arms, because we know that velocity gets outs. It has a better probability of getting outs. So if you want guys who throw 100, you're gonna look for guys who throw 100, and that trickles all the way down. You know, because not everyone's gonna play in the big leagues, but now a kid's trying to go to college and play, and maybe he doesn't throw 100, but maybe he's at 85, and he knows to go to college he needs to throw 90, and so he's gonna start pushing his body to the limit. And everyone's body is only gonna handle so much. I do think velocity is what is what is causing a lot of this. We're really pushing our bodies to the edge. I also think that workload has to do with that as well. We play a lot of games, and I don't want to be the person to sit here and say that we should play less games, because I know there's a lot of money involved in that, and I'll get hexed very fast by saying that. But I do think that, like, maybe we could have more bullpen arms, more of an expansion of roster, to just have some, you know, some extra guys out there to help with that workload. I don't know I don't know how to fix this. I don't have the answer. I do think velocity is a direct correlation to increased elbow stress. We know that. Like, we have scientists that tell us that. So we know that that is a correct statement. But now it's like, how can we continue to reward velocity and also play the game we love, but with staying a little bit healthier? You know, it sucks to see some of my favorite pitchers go down as well. You know, like Shane Bieber, like the other day, I saw him go down. I was very sad. I love watching him pitch, and he's a phenomenal pitcher. But you know, that's a starter. So it's like, you know, how can you say add another guy to the bullpen? How does that help the starters? I just don't have the answers to everything, but I do think velocity does affect elbow stress.
Does every big league pitcher, every professional pitcher, have a time bomb in their elbow?
I think a lot of it is genetic. I think some people have genetically stronger elbows. Some people deal with shoulder issues, and shoulders are the main, are their weakest link. Because at the end of the day, the body is going to break down. The body's going to injure at the weakest link. And so whether that be your shoulder, it could be your core, your hips, you see a lot of obliques go in pitchers, and then unfortunately elbows. So when a pitcher's throwing, the kinetic sequence as it's going up the chain is getting faster and faster. So that's why we see a lot of elbows go, is because the elbow is moving the fastest at the very end of the kinetic chain. So that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes total sense, actually.
What did it mean to you to have Brent in the middle of the game come up to you, find you on Sunday, and check on you?
The guy's awesome. That's all I gotta say. I mean, that's a top 2 teammate, and he ain't number 2. I mean, he's an incredible teammate. We have a short time of knowing each other, and we've gotten so close. And I think it's, you know, a lot of it revolves around, we're both Christians, and we're both, you know, spending a lot of time together. But when he came and saw me, I thought he was done. I didn't realize that he was going out for another inning. I was in the training room crying a lot. I was having a pretty emotional time, and he came and you know, gave me a big hug and just sat there with me for a second, and then went back out and pitched another inning. And I was just like, I didn't really realize that until after the game was over. So just incredible human, really is. He cares, and he has a really, really good character, really good character.
Thank you, TJ.
Yeah.
Thank you.